Hello, and welcome to this week's Cyber Intelligence Brief. I'm AJ Nash, Digital Intelligence Advocate for Authenticate. Now, this week has been particularly eventful, marked by significant operational disruptions to critical infrastructure protection capabilities here in the United States, and a notable escalation in nation state cyber operations globally. Let's dive in and unpack the key stories you need to be aware of. One of the most immediate and concerning developments is the termination of federal funding for the Multi State Information Sharing and Analysis Center, MS-ISAC. Now, this funding officially ended, or will end at least, on September 30th, creating immediate and critical operational gaps for over 18,000 U.S. state, local, tribal, and territorial government organizations. Think about it 10 categories of essential cybersecurity services, including cyber threat analysis, threat distribution, and incident response. They've been discontinued for many of these entities if they haven't transitioned to fee based memberships. Critical services like Albert Network Monitoring and cybersecurity advisories, which were federally funded, they're now going to face uncertain continuity. It's happening at precisely the moment nation state threat activity is escalating, which creates a very real vulnerability in our critical infrastructure protection. Adding to the complexity of our defensive posture, Microsoft released its September 2025 Patch Tuesday updates. It addressed over 80 vulnerabilities. While there were no actively exploited zero days this time, the release included critical SMB and NTLM flaws, as well as an Office remote code execution vulnerability that could be triggered just by previewing a malicious file. Notably, a serious SMB relay vulnerability, CVE 2025-55234, was publicly known prior to patching, significantly elevating the risk of exploitation across enterprise networks. The sheer concentration of these systemic authentication weaknesses demands immediate attention for all organizations. We also saw a concerning supply chain compromise affecting the Canadian government's multifactor authentication service. This incident, which occurred in August actually, but it's just being reported, exploited a vulnerability in a third-party MFA provider, Two Keys Corporation, during routine software updates. Malicious actors gained access to phone numbers and email addresses of users of major agencies like the Canada Revenue Agency and Canada Border Services Agency, leading to subsequent spam phishing campaigns. Now, this incident powerfully highlights the cascading security risks inherent in outsourced authentication services and the need for enhanced supplier security. It's all that third-party risk we talk about. Turning our attention to the global threat landscape, we've observed coordinated and evolving campaigns from powerful nation-state actors. North Korean advanced persistent threat groups, including Lazarus, APT-37, and Kimsuki, have demonstrated significant technical evolution. We've seen Lazarus weaponizing ClickFix, which is a social engineering in fake recruitment campaigns targeting government and defense contractors. APT-37 deployed a new Rust-based backdoor and enhanced its fade stealer capabilities with advanced evasion techniques and comprehensive surveillance tools, even including audio recording. Kimsuki, on the other hand, is leveraging weaponized GitHub repositories for command and control communications. This coordinated campaign targets South Korean government entities, Taiwan academia, and U.S. defense contractors, often employing sophisticated supply chain attacks and even AI-powered exploitation frameworks. Concurrently, Chinese state-sponsored APT groups, they don't want to get left out. Groups like Salt Typhoon and UNC 4841, well, they've maintained persistent access to global telecommunications infrastructure since 2021. They're systematically exploiting known vulnerabilities in backbone, provider edge, and customer edge routers, establishing persistence through modified access control lists, and deploying GRE IPsec tunnels for covert lateral movement across critical infrastructure sectors like government, transportation, and military. Now, this systematic approach confirms a long-term strategic intelligence collection supporting broader geopolitical objectives. We're also tracking Storm 0501, a group that's evolved from traditional ransomware operations to sophisticated hybrid cloud exploitation without even deploying malware. They're targeting healthcare, financial services, IT, and education sectors by exploiting misconfigured Entra ID identities and Connect Sync accounts. Using Azure native tools, they conduct data exfiltration and backup destruction, effectively exploiting visibility gaps between on-prem and cloud security. Now, this represents a significant shift in ransomware tactics towards cloud-based attacks that can bypass traditional endpoint detection and response solutions. They're going to demand fundamental changes in how hybrid cloud security architecture is handled. Perhaps the most significant overarching trend is still the rapid emergence of AI-powered threat capabilities. We just saw our first confirmed AI-powered ransomware, Prompt Lock, which uses local generative language models to dynamically create malicious Lua scripts. Now, this coincides with Hexstrike AI exploiting framework, that exploitation framework, which is reducing exploit development time from days to minutes, even seconds. We've seen as little as 20 seconds. There are even critical vulnerabilities appearing in AI-powered development tools themselves, such as the Cursor IDE, which enables silent code execution. The convergence means AI technologies are simultaneously creating new attack vectors while significantly lowering the barriers to entry for sophisticated cyber operations. Adding to this speed, we're seeing an acceleration in the exploitation of critical infrastructure vulnerabilities. CISA recently added a Delmia Aprizo vulnerability to its known exploited vulnerabilities catalog, and there's confirmed active exploitation of an SAP NetWeaver. Now, that's got a CVSS score of 10. That's a perfect 10, folks. Industrial Control Systems received 9 separate CISA advisories this week alone, and the Australian Cybersecurity Center confirmed active exploitation of Citrix NetScaler vulnerabilities affecting critical infrastructure globally. Now, this pattern indicates threat actors are systematically targeting industrial and enterprise systems with dramatically shortened vulnerability to exploitation timelines. Finally, there's a significant escalation in threat actors abusing legitimate cloud and development services. We've seen cyber criminals exploiting compromised AWS credentials to send over 50,000 phishing emails daily via simple email service. So if you're getting a lot more phishing emails lately, that could be why. I know I am. Sophisticated campaigns are abusing Google AppSheet infrastructure to bypass email authentication. As mentioned with Kimsuki, GitHub platforms are being weaponized for command and control operations, and malicious Chrome extensions are targeting meta advertising credentials. Now, this systematic exploitation of trusted platform legitimacy allows threat actors to evade traditional security controls, making them harder to detect. This week's intelligence paints a clear picture of an increasingly sophisticated, coordinated, and rapidly evolving threat landscape. Staying ahead requires constant vigilance and proactive measures. Now, for detailed recommendations and immediate actions your organization can take to mitigate these specific threats, please check out the full briefing on Authenticate's blog. That's authentic and the number 8.com, and then look for the blog. All right, listen, that's all for now. Until next week, stay vigilant.